My name is John Wetzler. My wife and I are the parents of a seriously mentally ill adult daughter who suffers from the effects of paranoid schizophrenia since 2010. Our daughter is presently living in Napa State Psychiatric Hospital. After multiple jailings, hospitalizations, panic attacks, criminal and misdemeanor behavior, she was incarcerated in Mendocino County Jail on December 21st, 2018 for a felony violation. During a related court appearance, Judge Brennan questioned our daughter's competence to stand trial and ordered psychiatric assessments by Dr. Kevin Kelly of Mendocino County and Dr. Katie Mazarol, Director of Conrep of Sonoma County. The results of these evaluations found our daughter incompetent to be able to stand trial. This was here in Fort Bragg. Our daughter was then remanded by Judge Brennan of Fort Bragg, 10-mile court, to the state psychiatric hospital system. Well, one may be ordered to the state psychiatric hospital system, but before you get there, you must wait for a bed to open. In this case, that wait took 125 days of my daughter languishing in solitary confinement in the Mendocino County Jail. December, January, February, March, April. Where does Judge Brennan think the defendant is during this time? In a state hospital? I don't think so. Are the judges aware of the lengthy and torturous wait? I think some of them are, some of them aren't. To make real what we know, our daughter's incarceration, here are a few stark realities. She was confined for 23 hours a day in concrete walls and a steel door with a small glass panel, with one random hour between approximately midnight, 1 or 2 a.m. The nightly release for a shower and an attempt to collect calls to our home. Not one day without sunlight or fresh air. When we visited, she was brought in with her ankles in chains and her hands locked behind her back. This was for 125 days. These are just a couple of the images to carry with you. When hearing this, the universal response has been, I would go crazy if I were in solitary. Can you imagine what this has done to someone already ill and suffering panic attacks? Hearing voices with difficulty submitting to protocols. We are asking very compromised people to endure what would bring even healthy people into crisis. Our own daughter's release from county jail and transport to Napa State Hospital as a bed had opened up. She arrived having lost 20% of her body weight during solitary confinement. Solitary confinement of the seriously mentally ill only traps them within their own echo chamber. No external feedback, no one to return the ping pong serve. For those of us living a free life, not engaged, communicating with our incarcerated daughter became more and more difficult during the 1-hour weekly allowed visits. Hard to comprehend the language and the thought process of one so isolated from society. With her psychosis untreated and florid, she left the jail with her psychosis and psychotic untreated and florid. She left the jail with her version of her psychosis cemented. Now she is at the state hospital where she will be treated as a psychiatric patient. Upon her arrival, she was overwhelmed by the blue of the sky, the green of the grass, and the aroma of fresh air. People were being kind to her, she said. While at the hospital, all criminality has been abated until the defendant is deemed restored to a level of competency to answer to her charges. She will then be returned to the same Mendocino County jail cell to again await court dates to determine a suitable punishment for acts committed while suffering from a mental illness. The court may order a sentence of probation to ensure the patient remains street drug-free and obey doctor's orders, or she may be set free to roam the streets of the county as the judge will consider time already served as an adequate adjudication. She may be deemed a candidate for behavioral health court, where she will have some supervision to help her stay on the straight and narrow. She might become a candidate of Laura's Law. We can only hope that these services will be provided by Mendocino County and paid for by MHSA funds. Our daughter will need housing, SSI restoration, and close observation from her outpatient services if she is to successfully return to society. In conclusion, it is clear that in spite of families and community begging for help for their seriously mentally ill members, criminality is often the only road towards psychiatric treatment for the seriously mentally ill in this state. We need psychiatric hospital beds and facilities to be constructed and served throughout the state. In Mendocino County, we need to actualize the promise of Measure B, approved by 83% of our voters. As long as the jailhouse becomes an extended stop for the seriously mentally ill, success in treatment will be severely limited. It is important to remember that our daughter was not sentenced to 4 months in jail. She was ordered to the state hospital for restoration of competency to answer to her charges. The solitary confinement and nonspecific open-ended incarceration was the actual byproduct of the lack of adequate hospital beds common to all Californians, not only citizens of Mendocino County. We need to exert a unified demand for humane, appropriate treatment that has a chance of restoration for competency and health for those suffering from a mental illness. I have a little addenda here that I put together. I'd also done a Freedom of Information Act request, which has not arrived yet. So I just had a few of my own statistics here to consider tonight. 90% of patients are forensic commitments to the state hospital system. We're talking about forensics here now. Civilly or criminally mandated to the state hospital system. All have been accused to the criminal courts of crime linked to their mental illness. The remaining 10% are sexual offenders or civilly committed Landerman Petra short 1 year commitments. Presently, there are 39,250,000 people living in the state of California. The incidence of seriously mentally ill, incapacitated by their disease, is 1 in 25, or 4%. 4% of 39.25 million is 1,570,000 seriously mentally ill people. There are 5 forensic existing state psychiatric hospitals in Napa, here in Sonoma County, Los Angeles Metropolitan, Patton, near San Bernardino, Atascadero in San Luis Obispo County, and Coalinga in the San Joaquin Valley. Their total bed capacity is approximately 5,000 to 6,000. A gap of 1,564,000 beds presently occurs. This profound shortfall of beds affects the well-being of our entire society. We must stop the disinvestment of care for our mentally ill and demand a reversal to investment with facilities and providers. We need a more bright future. Thank you. Oh, I also have a couple of letters from people that we're familiar with who asked that I bring them to this meeting. One here is from a friend. I'm here to put a face on this crisis. I have shared our family's story. Another friend's son was finally 5150, then 5250, but released many days sooner than the psychiatric health facility Respad in Red Bluff was authorized to keep him in. Within 2 days, this completely disillusioned SMI man was back in Mendocino County Jail, acting out during a court appearance where he now sits again in solitary. He needs to be hospitalized, not jailed. We need SB 640, which will provide more grounds and a broader reading of the 5150 law and help to get ill individuals off the street. However, the destination needs to be the hospital, not the jail cell. Another friend writes, their son sat in solitary for 4 months awaiting a bed in the Atascadero State Prison. This crisis is statewide. Thank you.